I'm Alexandrian, founder of AtoZ Communications, and this is the Brand Stories podcast. This is where we talk about everything related to branding, marketing, public relations, and just communications in general. This week, we have Wealth Solutions Report Editor-in-Chief, Julius Buchanan. The publication is now 5 years old in the financial services arena, and the publication has become known for its thought leadership. Julius, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I was just reflecting, Wealth Solutions Report has been around for about 5 years now, so I feel like I must have found you, give or take, when you guys started, and I'm so glad that I did. How's everything been going?
Going well. Yes, we did cross our 5th anniversary in April. And so, yeah, you and I were working together from very early on as we've grown. I really appreciate working with you all these years. It's been great.
Likewise. It's good when you find good people.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It makes work so much more fun when you connect with the right people.
Agreed. So the first question that I ask everybody is, what's their favorite brand and why?
Yes, and this is interesting. I spent a long time thinking about this, and then all of a sudden I kind of looked towards my garage and said, oh, that's it. It's Toyota. I don't know how many people say Toyota, but I was thinking, like, what is my favorite? And then I'm like, I buy Toyotas because they're trustworthy, they're reliable, they're dependable. And that's what branding is all about, right? Yes. It's about communicating a message. What do you want to be? What do you want consumers or clients to know you as? And that brand precedes itself. And it's not something it's easy for a company to do. You can communicate today about your ideas, your plans, or what you can do today. Yeah. But to establish a brand like that, you have to start years and years ago, decades ago. And that's what they did. And they produce high quality. They're trustworthy. And that's one of the reasons I don't like going to the shop. I don't want to see the mechanic every year or two, or have to just do oil changes and tire rotation. So to have a vehicle that fits that brand, and it's not flashy, so it doesn't try to do everything. The reputation with it. I mean, even without anybody actually going out there to market and say that, although there are some advertisements that play on that, but really, they've already told the world who they are just by demonstrating it. I think that's much harder to have a product and then to build that reputation. It's something that it takes a long time. If you're in the market to make the reputation being dependability, long-term value, it takes a while to develop that. And it's something you have to keep striving for. But I think it shows, that kind of reputation shows what's going on inside the company as well, that they want to make that happen. So they got their products aligned with what the world knows about them. And so for people, I tend to be the consumer that prefers things that are no fuss, simple, reliable. And for consumers, that's the kind of vehicle that you want. So that kind of brand, I think it says something, maybe why I'm at WSR, which,
because I fed you into this. So I was like, trustworthy, reliable. Yeah, it says it's exactly that. So do you feel like Wealth Solutions Report is living up to that? I mean, granted, I don't know to what extent Toyota and Wealth Solutions Report fed off of each other, but does it seem like that's kind of the brand promise that you hope that Wealth Solutions Report has?
I think we look to something like that. We look to do, our brand is going to mean specific things to the audience. But I think it's kind of my psychology that I want to make it like that. And I agree with our CEO that it should be like that. And it's kind of the same psychology where I'm looking for brands that are dependable, reliable, trustworthy, that I also want to make this brand the same kind of thing. So I want it to have that message. And about our brand, what does it communicate? I believe we're trying to communicate that we are not going to be flashy. Again, like Toyota, we're not going to be flashy. We're not going to do TikTok videos. And with all due respect to TikTok, we're not trying to do things that are just going to attract people just to look at something. We want them to feel like they're coming there for something really strong, valuable, something meaty. And it all started with our CEO, Larry Roth, when he founded this 5 years ago. He got his inspiration from Harvard Business Review and said, I want to have something that's thought leadership first in this space. I want a magazine that's going to major in thought leadership and go reach out to lots of experts and say, what can you tell the readers? And so that was his driving idea. And he wanted to be optimistic. He wanted to be a voice that would be positive for the industry and say, hey, here's how you can grow. Here's how you can grow your business. Here's how you can grow your clients. Here's how you can serve your clients better. And here's how, going beyond the advisor sphere to everybody else in the ecosystem, here's how you can make decisions that are going to improve advisory services and improve what you're doing for it. So say you're in compliance, or maybe you're at a home office, or wherever you are. Like we're going to bring ideas of other experts to you so that then you can digest those and learn something that's applicable, that's going to help you grow your business and thus grow the industry. And that was the whole idea that he started with 5 years ago. And we try to live up to that. So that's who we reach, is, of course, financial advisors. And we do reach actually quite a lot of those decision makers who are in all these different companies that provide services to the financial advice industry. So that's our target audience. And that is our bread and butter, is the thought leadership. The news comes second.
Okay. So that's interesting that you wanted to go that way, but I could understand the thought process behind it of, if you want that meaty, substantive conversation, how else do you kind of replicate that or put that somewhere centralized for people to find, versus I found this video over here and I did this over there. So that's great. Do you feel like that's the differentiator between you and the other publications in the industry?
I think that encapsulates a lot of it. Another thing that we do, because there's news to be talked about. So we do some standalone stories, but again, trying to reach that busy advisor or busy executive, we do a lot of roundups. So you're going to find most of our news items are covered through roundups. We do have the standalone stories, of course, but most of what we do is going to be the top 12 stories for the month in wealth tech, for the month in investments. And then every week we have one that focuses on M&A, deals, promotions, et cetera. And what we're trying to do there is encapsulate what people need. If you're a busy executive, you need to have a chance to go look at the website several times. We want you to have a go-to resource. Like, okay, this week, what were the major deals in M&A? What happened this week? What happened in wealth tech this month? So we've designed that, again, the news around that same kind of audience, those decision makers, the people, the executives, professionals who are going to be making decisions and want thought leadership are also going to want news that follows in that same kind of pattern. Help me as an executive digest what I need to know quickly.
And I love the respectfulness of everybody's time, because, to be honest, I love going through those and seeing who made it, who didn't make it, and trying to parse out why didn't so-and-so make it or whatnot. But it really does encapsulate, you've served it up, and now I'm ready to have my conversations with everybody. I know what I'm supposed to be talking about. So it's very thoughtful like that. I appreciate it.
Thanks. Yeah, there's always more than we can put in. We always have many things that we can't, and we would love to be able to make it even bigger. We try to get the best we can with the top 12 for each roundup.
Which is fair. And at some point there has to be a criteria. Otherwise it's just a list of 100. But to that end, does it seem like within the last few years or so, there's a lot more news to parse through? How do you feel like your inbox has compared between when you guys first started and now?
I feel like some things have changed. Like some of the themes have changed over the years. So like robo-advisors used to be huge. And you see that theme is mostly gone. Every once in a while you see it in the context of AI. You see other tech. I feel like technology has become more important, and especially now in the era of AI, and that itself has gone through various eras. Investments has become more important. When we started our roundups, we started just with deals, M&A, with promotions and advisor transitions. We ended up adding wealth tech, and then we added investments because we saw that there was a lot of interest in knowing what's going on in the adjacent investments world. So there we aim it again for this audience that's within the wealth management industry in the independent space. But we're going to aim for that audience. We're going to aim a lot of investments information to them and a lot of the breaking news.
Nice. So if a financial advisor or a firm is listening to this and they're saying to themselves, I really want to get in Wealth Solutions Report, are there certain steps that they need to take, certain things that you want to see in the pitch? Do you need to meet them in advance? What's the trick to getting in there?
One of the mistakes I see with pitches is they're often aimed not at our audience, but it's more like a general pitch. So we see pitches that are kind of like off target for our audience. Maybe a great story, maybe not on target for our audience. Since we do a lot of Q&As and especially a lot of editorials, if there's the right person to talk to And we try to actually make it easier. A lot of times we'll communicate on email because we know their
Yes.
compliance wants to look at what they say before they say it. So we'll do a lot of communication on email, so the compliance gets their chance to make sure that everything is cool. So when people send those pitches, we're looking for something that's going to be relevant to the audience, and be pitched at the audience's level. So you have financial advisors who have a level of sophistication. We're looking for stories that are going to bring some kind of new insight, analysis, something different, instead of just repeating or having basic things that you would probably commonly hear being said out there. We would ask for those things to be more honed. Somebody who's already got that base level knowledge and is saying, now I need analysis that's going to help me grow. How can you take this idea and push it further? Tell me something new that's going to help me go back to my company, go back to whoever, my home office, and work with them. However you do it, what's going to help us grow? And that's really where we're looking. We're looking for that additional level of insight. When we do all of our thought leadership, we're looking for that additional insight, that additional something that's going to click with readers and say, I didn't think about that before. That's a good point. And if we can get that, that's really where we try to steer the thought leadership.
Yeah. So I love that. And I feel like I'm going to have to clip that out and send that to my clients, because among the things that I do in media training is explaining to people, you do have to have an opinion. You don't necessarily need to have a very contrarian, very argumentative, aggressive opinion, but it needs to be an opinion, and it needs to be something that's fresh. To your point, if you're going to keep saying the same old stuff, then everybody else already said it first. Do you feel like advisors get timid when it comes to voicing their opinion, or feeling as if I need to be contrarian or I need to be somewhat out there to be heard?
If you think about what you're doing, often you will discover that there's a unique idea you have that's just not been out there before. And that's a good way to go. Often you think, well, I don't have anything else. I know what everybody else knows, but you have your own lived experience and may have ideas that other people aren't talking about. It may be that you were sitting in the conference thinking something when a speaker was talking, and you said, no, wait, I think we could do it better like this. And you just jotted down a note and never said anything. Those kinds of ideas might be where you want to go with this. I don't know if people would want to relate that to broader audiences, clients, and I guess it depends on the idea you come up with. But for us, if somebody has that kind of idea, I think that's where the spark is. You'll find people who will take a mass of information, but they still find ideas and pursue those ideas. Mm-hmm. And I guess for some people, I don't think it's an ability you have or don't have. I think it's more like a skill you develop to like pull those ideas and communicate to other people. Like, hey, I've got something that you might not have thought of before. Most people are going to be able to, with their lived-in experience and their level of knowledge, that there's a whole lot more fresh perspective with them than they may think about at first blush.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you guys have been very kind about it. I mean, I've pitched certain things and you're like, well, you're like kind of there, you're almost there. What do you think about this? So it's nice that there's a back and forth, and not just either in some cases you feel like you send out a bunch of pitches and you never hear anything, or you send out a pitch and you get an outright no. So it's great to know that you guys are collaborative in that process. How do you manage doing that on top of, I'm sure, a bajillion other things?
Just do our best. We try. We're not able to get back on every pitch, and we would love to.
It's impossible.
The people who are talking to us are the readers or somebody within their nearby sphere. At the end of the day, the volume of emails, we're not able to do that for everybody, but we try to. And especially if somebody's close but not quite there, then a little bit of interaction may create great editorial or a great Q&A.
Is there a certain way that they should explain it to you, or do you want a certain amount of background on them first as they're pitching what their thought is? What's a good way for the everyday advisor to get into your inbox?
I think background always helps. Because you have to take the ideas of the person and then present them to an audience. And the audience, one of their questions is, well, how do I know this person is capable? How do I know that they know what they're talking about? That's usually done through providing bios, a brief resume, or just a link to say, go look at their work. You can see who they are, understand who they are and what their skills are and what they've been working on that relates to wealth management, that does help. It helps a lot to establish that credibility that we don't just establish for ourselves. We need to establish that for our readers. They need to know that here's somebody who knows what they're talking about. So we need to establish that credibility for them. And then you don't necessarily need to send a final written piece, but some bullet points, unpacking the idea. Here's how the idea would flow. And here's some various, it doesn't have to be a totally finished piece of work, just the ideas. And then we can interact on how would that be shaped as an editorial.
Nice. So if you don't mind, and I realize this is sort of coming at the end, so I should have organized this better, but how did you get into financial reporting and become the editor of Wealth Solutions Report?
I was in public relations in the financial space for a few years before moving over to the journalist side. And before that, I had a background in law, and especially dealing with securities, derivatives, stocks, bonds, IPOs. So
all the good stuff.
A lot of financial things, a lot of the good stuff that matters to financial advisors. So when I came into the PR space, I knew so much about the products and securities markets already through that training.
And it's interesting. So you mentioned going from PR to journalism. So I've done the opposite. I went from reporter to PR. I feel like you can, in a way, keep crossing back and forth, although I'm sure you have to put on your hat or think differently about it. For anybody who's thinking about either getting into journalism or getting into PR, how would you explain that, don't feel as if you're just limited to one side or the other?
Yeah, I think there's a definite shifting of gears there where you have to learn to think from a different perspective. But I think the commonality is that you are trying to communicate to the public. Well, in most PR, you're trying to communicate to the public or a certain segment of the public. I mean, there's other PR that deals with government relations or something like that. But for most PR, you're trying to communicate effective messages to the public. And you're doing storytelling. And for one of those, you're doing that to try to communicate messages that come from a PR client. Whereas on the other side, you're trying to find out what messages are out there and then communicate those as clearly as you can to the readers and the viewers. Yeah. So I think there's a lot of commonality there. And if you look at that and then just kind of see the perspective of the journalist, my feeling, and you tell me what your experience was, but my experience was that there's the definite shifting of gears or perspective, but it's like 90% the same underneath. So you just got to kind of resurface it, rescan it and do a little bit of retooling, but it's 90% the same underneath.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I feel like a lot of times, even though, and it's sad to say that I was a reporter 15 years ago, I feel like a lot of that still is embedded in your brain, where you just think in terms of okay, well, that's not a story, but that could be a story if you did this. But you're right. On the PR side, obviously, there's the company's message, and how is it that we're going to communicate that specifically versus, I need to get a whole breadth of a story and make sure every angle is covered and whatnot. Obviously, we can do some of that too, but that's also your job, and I don't want to take it from you. But yeah, I agree. It's mostly the same. We just come at it from different angles.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. If you don't mind, do you have any projections? You guys are at 5 years. Any hopes for what the next 5 look like?
Well, it's maybe difficult to say at this point. We want to continue growing, we want to continue serving our audience, but it's difficult to say exactly where we'll land in another 5 years. But we want to keep doing what we're doing and hopefully expand as we're able.
Well, fingers crossed. And you guys have been doing great work. So thank you for all that you've been doing and the whole staff.
Thank you, Allie.
Of course.